There was an idea to bring together a group of 107 facts. But for the biggest cinematic event in all of time and space, Avengers Infinity War has managed to keep a surprising amount of information hidden under its gauntlet-covered thumb. So to board the hype train without ruining the movie, we've got 107 spoiler-free facts about Avengers Infinity War that you should know. Avengers, assemble! Avengers Infinity War was directed by the Russo brothers, Joe and Anthony. They're taking the helm from previous franchise captain Joss Whedon. While this is their first Avengers film, they directed Winter Soldier and Civil War, so they're pretty well versed in this whole Marvel game. Just as the Russos' previous Marvel films were high-concept genre pieces, so too is Infinity War. To capture the smash-and-grab urgency of the movie, the brothers channeled 90s heist films. They actually watched some 90s heist movies to get the vibe, too. 2 Days in the Valley and Out of Sight inspired the tone of Infinity War. Of course they drew influence from the comics, too. The 1991 Infinity Gauntlet and the 2013 Infinity titles were the biggest basis for the movie. But don't expect to see the film playing out in exactly the same way. In the original Infinity Gauntlet story, Silver Surfer comes crashing into the Sanctum Sanctorum to warn Doctor Strange of Thanos' arrival. Judging by the trailers, it looks like the Hulk will be standing in for the Surfer. Marvel didn't even own some of the comic characters who were part of the original storyline. Since word came out that Disney had reacquired the rights to Silver Surfer, though, rumors circulated that he would be popping up. The Russo brothers shot that down, but hinted that his appearance may be possible one day. If the Russos could only have one mutant, then it would of course be Wolverine. Hashtag bring back Jackman. The Russos are really stressing that Infinity War is the beginning of the end. They've called it the conclusion of the book that began with Iron Man back in 2008. It's like one long graphic novel that we've only got a few chapters left in. Directors assemble! The Russos worked closely with the other MCU directors to make sure that all their movies linked up. In particular, Taika Waititi, who was wrapping up Thor Ragnarok, and Peyton Reed, who is following up Infinity War with Ant-Man and the Wasp. Don't worry though, this movie will be nothing like anything you've seen before. According to Iron Man himself, Robert Downey Jr., they're not retreading any of the same old MCU ground. Even the airport sequence from Civil War, which fans loved, will be a far cry from the type of action this movie brings. RDJ calls it the anti-process. Finding what works, and then not doing it. The movie's plot was kept so secret that even the actors were in the dark. They were given partial shooting scripts with fake endings and only learned what was happening via verbal explanation on the shooting day. Tom Holland asked to read the full script, but producers specifically shot him down. Then again, Holland was notorious for slipping spoilers, so the role was probably made for him. Of the cast members, Benedict Cumberbatch read the most of the script. This, he claims, is because he's slow and needed the extra help to do his part, but we all know he was probably using his inner Sherlock to game the system. Because the Russos have managed to keep so much of the movie a secret thus far, they've asked that early viewers do the same, using the hashtag Thanos demands your silence. Don't ever use that hashtag unless you're already ready for some spoilers. Actors from the set of The Last Jedi commented that their movie always felt like an indie, despite being Star Wars. Not so with Infinity War. Many of the actors have commented that they were constantly aware of the scope of what they were doing. We know that this movie is slated to feature, well, pretty much every MCU hero of all time. The biggest assembly will see 32 main characters coming together. How do they even fit on screen? Wait, we can actually answer that rhetorical question. The movie is shot entirely in IMAX, which means the screen is 26% bigger than that of other standard movies, which means 26% better, obviously. That's just another way Infinity War is making film history. It is the first ever movie to be shot completely in IMAX. Not only is the movie in IMAX, but IMAX is in the movie's poster. Seriously, the IMAX logo is hidden in the poster 4 times. Some fans claim that they've spotted Ant-Man in there too. Honestly, there's so many characters on the poster they could have hidden Waldo in there and I wouldn't have noticed. Since the cast is so large, the Russos realized that the only way to do them all justice was to break them down into smaller groups. They took this hint from the movie Nashville, which also sees different pairings of people woven into a bigger storyline. The daunting task of screenwriting this was given to frequent Marvel writers Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely. They wrote the first Avenger in the Dark World. No, wait, it's okay. They also wrote Civil War and Winter Soldier, so we're in pretty good hands. Given the character count, even a common dialogue sequence becomes complex from a directing standpoint. According to Joe Russo, every single character is important and needs to shine. It adds even more pressure to balancing the scene. Joe Russo has a term for exciting chemistry between two characters who are meeting for the first time. He calls it strange alchemy, and the movie is filled with those little interactions. Even behind the scenes, people were freaking out about their favorite characters meeting. In particular, the opportunity to get the Guardians and the Avengers together at last was a big sell. In case you weren't worried about your heroes facing imminent doom, heed the warning of the Russo brothers. They've said that everything has to end to have values, and that calls for stakes. So have your Kleenex ready. The movie was just as bittersweet for the actors as it is for the viewers. Many of the actors who have known each other for years knew this would likely be the last time they all work together. Besides all that, there is the matter of concluding contracts. In the coming movies, the deals that MCU struck with grandparents Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, RDJ, ScarJo, Chris Hemsworth, and Jeremy Renner are set to run out. Don't expect any recasts either. At least in Downey's case, the Russos have said that no one would be able to take over the role, whether Downey does decide to retire the Iron Suit or not. So who's to blame for all my anxiety? The mean grimace himself, Thanos. He isn't just stealing the Infinity Stones, he's stealing the show too. The Russos have pinned him as the main character of this movie. The biggest cinematic baddie of all time is Darth Vader. With this movie, the Russos hope to make Thanos into a Vader for a new generation. In other words, be very afraid. Infinity War won't be covering Thanos' origin story. You'll have to go to the extended Marvel Cinematic Universe for that. The novel, Titan Consumed, will give you all the backstory you need to fear the Purple People Eater. Thanos was created by Jim Starlin, who actually cut ties with Marvel just last year due to a Thanos-related dispute. To be fair, Starlin didn't even know Thanos was going to appear in the MCU until a few weeks before the Avengers came out. He learned via leaks and rumors, just like the rest of us. Starlin has not so subtly alluded that he'd like a cameo in the movie since it's based on his work. So keep your eyes open for him. Maybe he'll show up in there. He first came up with Thanos while taking a psych class. It was based on the Thanos Eros concepts, also known as the life and death instincts. Not sure how that made him think of a giant world-consuming grimace, but whatever, dude, I'm no psychologist. Thanos' design was largely inspired by the work of Jack Kirby. Largely, as in Thanos used to be this thin dude, and Starlin beefed him up to look more like Kirby's DC Goliath, Darkseid. Thanos' first official comic appearance dates back to Iron Man number 55 in 1973. He popped up after that in various other Marvel comics, just like the MCU. As for his movie design, his armorless summer look is reminiscent of the humble robed outfit he sported in the comics. It also resembles his original sleeveless style from his first appearance. The teaser shot of Thanos lifting the Infinity Gauntlet is just like the iconic cover of the graphic novel of the same name. In the trailer, Gamora comments that Thanos can wipe out half the universe with the snap of his fingers. She's being literal there. Thanos' snap is actually a defining moment of the comics, wherein he actually does succeed in cutting down the population. Josh Brolin was cast as Thanos for Guardians of the Galaxy. Since the MCU producers knew this role was going to eventually be huge, they sent over a Hulk ton of research. Brolin had been working on the movie Everest at the time and spent more time reading comics than researching The Climb. At first, Brolin has said he felt more like a prop than a person in his role. The mocap suit he had to wear was so alien to him, no pun intended, that he had no idea how it would turn out. When he saw the footage and how his actions translated so seamlessly, he realized that he never should have doubted it. You may accidentally find yourself empathizing with Thanos as you watch Infinity War. This wasn't the intention, though. It wasn't until the movie was nearly done that the Russos came to Josh Brolin and admitted they had developed feelings for the Mad Titan. Brolin has likened Thanos to his role as Dan White in the 2009 biopic, Milk. Both are well-intentioned figures who become murderous when no one will hear them out. Thanos isn't Josh Brolin's only Marvel role this year. He's also Cable in Deadpool 2, which drops less than a month after Infinity War, and you know there's no way they're not going to make fun of that in that movie. Due to his Cable commitments, Brolin was absent throughout most of the production. He was often replaced by a stand-in actor who led the characters through their scenes. Ironically, in the comics, Thanos and Deadpool were competitors. Both were vying for the heart of Mistress Death. Maybe we'll see this plotline on the big screen one day if the late-stage meta-narrative of the MCU gets really insane. Thanos is joined by his league of cronies, the Black Order, though in the MCU they're called the Children of Thanos. This includes Corvus Glaive, Proxima Midnight, Ebony Maw, and Cull Obsidian. Nebula, Gamora, you've been replaced by kids with eviler names. Okay, wait, so if Thanos is working with these children, what did he mean by the whole I'll do it myself thing at the end of Age of Ultron? Turns out the Infinity War writers don't know either. They have no idea where he was, what he meant, why he said it. Just commenting, not our movie. For the chosen few who have seen Infinity War, Ebony Maw is an early favorite. Played by Tom Von Lawler, he has exactly the kind of captivating personality that the Russos wanted the children to carry. Cull Obsidian is portrayed by Terry Notary. Notary is best known for playing mocap apes like Kong in Skull Island and Rocket in Planet of the Apes. He's bringing his monkey business to the MCU now. The all-star cast keeps growing with the addition of The Leftovers and Fargo's Carrie Coon as Proxima Midnight. Coon's casting wasn't even announced until, like, the same month the movie dropped. Recruiting new Avengers at this critical point is a challenge. According to Tom Von Lawler, the MCU overlords do extensive background checks to make sure their newbies aren't prone to controversy or spoilers. The two kryptonites of good actors. Hell, prior to release, we didn't even know who Peter Dinklage was playing. All we knew is that, quote, we'd recognize him. Which, like, thanks Russos, that's probably why you cast him in the first place. Fans lost it when they learned that Brie Larson would be joining the MCU as Captain Marvel. The Russos must have lost something too, because for a while it was unclear whether Captain Marvel was going to be in Infinity War, whether her appearance got cut, or if it was even there in the first place. In the comic timeline, Civil War takes place after Infinity War. The Avengers are still an active team at the time of Thanos' arrival, which must have been convenient. Though it is pretty crazy to have gone through all that universe-ending destruction together and then still gotten mad over some legal paperwork. For the MCU, Civil War was intentionally moved first. Kevin Feige and the Russos wanted to split up the Avengers as a setup to add further tension to the inevitability of Thanos' arrival. Fans have noted the absence of Hawkeye across all the marketing material. Despite reports that he's in the movie, he's really only been on like one magazine cover by EW. Fans even photoshopped him into the posters and cut him into the trailers to fill the arrow-shaped holes in their hearts. The promo material has been mostly top-notch, but Elizabeth Olsen called out her Empire magazine article for photoshopping her face beyond recognition. Seriously guys, what was there to change? She already looks like Elizabeth Olsen. The Russos have tricked audiences with fake trailer footage before, and they did it again at the D23 Expo. In the sequence there, Thor had both his eyes. Following the release of Ragnarok, however, we've seen the real version of the scene where he has an eye patch. The trailer drew in 230 million views within 24 hours, beating the previous record held by the movie It. That'd be impressive, only 200 million of those views were just me, so, you know. Take it as you will. The marketing team hid tickets to the film behind Infinity War posters. It's a cool Wonka-esque idea, but doesn't that mean people are running around tearing down posters? I thought just DC fans were doing that. The film's working production title was Mary Lou. The previous Avengers films were codenamed Group Hug and After Party, and what any of those mean is anybody's guess. Production began January 23rd, 2017, with Robert Downey Jr., Chris Pratt, and Tom Holland joining forces day one. As usual, Iron Man is coming into this film with a new suit. This time though, it's his modern classic Bleeding Edge armor, which is made of nanites and stored inside Tony's body. It doesn't take a whole ton of detective work to see why fans are excited about seeing Robert Downey Jr. and Benedict Cumberbatch in a movie together. Both actors have played Sherlock Holmes, and they'll need to put those heads together to stop Thanos. Following their team up in Homecoming, Tony and Peter are working together again. Downey Jr. says it's to the credit of the writers that they realized the dynamic was so popular and decided to bring it back. Avengers that avenge together stay together, and watch Avengers movies together. Robert Downey Jr. hosted a screening of Black Panther for Tom Holland, which is definitely one way of crossing over that these movies have yet to do. Spider-Man may be Marvel's wisecracking hero, but it was Chris Pratt's jokes that kept Tom Holland cracking up. They had a hard time doing scenes together because Holland would break into laughter. No awkward reunion is complete without commenting on each other's new haircuts. Chris's Hemsworth and Evans ad-libbed a scene in which they do just that, having effectively swapped haircuts since they last saw each other in Age of Ultron. Thor's moving on past Mjolnir with a new weapon, Stormbreaker. The half-hammer, half-axe shares a name with the weapon used by Beta Ray Bill. Hey, in the comics he could wield Mjolnir, so it's only fair they share now. Since Thor evolved so much in Ragnarok, Chris Hemsworth wasn't sure which version of him would be appearing in this movie. He was so protective of Thor's new persona that he actually called the Russos out of concern it would be scrapped. Likewise, Dave Bautista was also worried about the Russo reign. Since James Gunn had been the driving force of the Guardians to this point, he was relieved to learn that the Russos were extremely collaborative with his part. To that end, James Gunn actually wrote some of the dialogue for the Guardians in this movie, particularly in the scenes in which they meet the Avengers. Gunn's distinct voice helped the interactions feel more natural. Despite its recent release, Guardians 2 actually took place years ago, sometime around 2014. That means by this movie, we haven't seen them in some time, so we have years of catching up to do. Black Widow is rocking a blonde widow look in this movie. Scarlett Johansson has said that the new do was meant to show that some time and adventures have gone by since we last saw her, while also nodding to her undercover status. With her short blonde hairdo, Natasha now looks like the other Black Widow from the comics, Yelena Belova. Black Panther co-stars Winston Duke and Lupita Nyong'o saw the first Avengers together in 2012. They mused about what it would be like to be in a film like that. Well, at least one of them's in this movie now. You've made it, M'Baku. Infinity War is the middle of a 3-movie Hulk arc that began with Ragnarok and ends with Avengers 4. According to Mark Ruffalo, part of that development is that the Hulk now has the vocabulary and sentence structure of a 5-year-old. James Buchanan Barnes is always getting new nicknames, from Bucky to the Winter Soldier to his latest moniker, the White Wolf. It's his title in this film, first dropped in the Black Panther credit scene. The White Wolf is straight from the comics, but it wasn't Bucky. In fact, it was T'Challa's older foster brother, Hunter, the leader of the Hatut Zeraze. But we saw Black Panther and T'Challa doesn't have a brother, and Okoye is the War Dog leader, so the position's open. Meanwhile, his BFF Steve Rogers is going by a new name, Nomad. When Cap goes rogue from the government in the comic books, he sheds the stars and stripes and dons a darker costume, much like his current getup. In the trailer, we get a shot of Vision in his human form. In the comics, his alter ego is named Victor Shade, and Vision uses it to blend in with the rest of mankind. If Scarlet Witch ever got a standalone film, Elizabeth Olsen knows exactly what plotline she'd want. The House of M sees Vision and Wanda suffering a miscarriage and imagining a fake family for them. So, not exactly a feel-good summer romp then. What did that other comic book villain say? What doesn't kill you makes you stranger? That proves true for Doctor Strange, who's coming into this movie with a full mastery of his powers. Apparently, he was trapped in that time loop a lot longer than we saw, which gave him time to perfect the skills. Alright, let's talk about who's not in this movie. It might be faster. Sadly, the Defenders won't be making an appearance, but it's not for lack of trying. The Russos considered bridging them in, but deemed it impossible considering the sheer amount of characters and directors they were already coordinating with. The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. unfortunately won't be making their big screen debut this time around either. However, the collateral damage of the event will impact the show. As the only TV series influenced by the movies, it's a hard thing to avoid. Michael Rooker was spotted on set, but denied his involvement, which of course meant he was in it. When we saw his character died in Guardians 2, however, it was deemed he was just pulling our leg. The Russos began as comedy directors, and they love slipping in Easter eggs from their old projects. Winter Soldier featured Community's Danny Pudi, Civil War had the stair car from Arrested Development, and the new film will undoubtedly have some kind of gag from the Michael Hurwitz show as well, so keep your eyes peeled. Post-credit scenes have become a staple of the MCU, but Infinity War almost didn't have one. Without going into much detail, the Russo brothers revealed that they didn't think they had to do one. Coming in at 149 minutes, Infinity War is the longest MCU movie to date. So, pro tip, don't have a big drink when you see it. Unlike the Russo brothers' previous Marvel outings, Infinity War will have a slew of deleted scenes, almost as big as the cast. This is because they played with all the character interactions in the writing and allowed improv on the set, leading to an excess of material. In honor of the 10th anniversary of the MCU, all the stars and directors assembled for a class photo. A reunion so star-studded you could probably see it from space. Infinity War marks the 10-year anniversary of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, almost to the day. The first MCU flick, Iron Man, came out on May 2nd, 2008, just a few days before this movie hits theaters. The April/May release date isn't just a point of tradition. Kevin Feige has confessed that the various national holidays that occur around this time of year spur moviegoers to the theaters. Iron Man 2 and Thor both enjoyed this boost, and it's been in practice ever since. The film's original premiere date, May 4th, 2018, would have been 6 years after the original Avengers. Time flies when you're, no it doesn't, I've been waiting forever for this. The release date was knocked forward to April 27th, thanks to Robert Downey Jr. The MCU godfather had a fun Twitter exchange with Marvel in which he recommended the earlier release, and you just can't say no to that face. He's Iron Man. So why'd the date change? The dominating theory is that Disney did not want Deadpool 2 and Solo, two of its own May releases, getting cannibalized by Infinity War's popularity. We can only see so many movies, guys, damn. This is the second time an Avengers movie was immediately followed by an Ant-Man movie. The original Paul Rudd adventure came out next after Age of Ultron, wrapping up Phase 2. It's still not really clear what Ant-Man and the Wasp is actually about based on the trailer, but the Russos have indicated that elements of it will directly tie into Infinity War. That led many to believe they're on a secret mission. Infinity War is the 7th installment of the MCU's Phase 3, with only Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, and Avengers 4 before the phase's conclusion. Infinity War is the 19th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe overall. Here's to another 19, guys! Pre-sale tickets for Infinity War already outsold the sales for the previous 7 Marvel movies combined. Talk about being better than the sum of your parts. The Russo brothers will also be directing the 4th Avengers movie, which began production immediately after the 3rd. Ain't no rest for the super. Infinity War and the as-of-yet unnamed 4th Avengers movie were announced during the Part 1, Part 2 craze that dominated blockbusters. As such, they were originally slated to be 2 halves of this movie. They later dropped the subtitles. According to Kevin Feige, they're 2 distinct movies, not one story cut in half. Justice League, DC's team-up film, also tried the Part 1, Part 2 approach and backed out of it before release. As of now, the 4th Avengers movie is still unnamed. The Russos want people to watch and take in Infinity War before they start speculating on the next movie, which likely means the title is at least part spoiler. Like Avengers, Iron Man just died. That about wraps us up. I'm Brendan with Cinematica, and thanks for watching. What's next for the MCU? Have any theories about Avengers 4? Comment below and let us know. Don't forget to subscribe to Cinematica and click the bell icon to become part of the notification squad.